At this time, I'll call this meeting to order. We'll go to item number 2, if we would. Who wants to do the invocation at this time?
Oh, excuse me for not riding.
Gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we come to you today, Father. Thank you, Lord, for another beautiful day. Father, I just ask, Lord, that you just watch over us throughout this day, Father, as we meet, Lord. Father, I just pray, Lord, that you be in the midst of us, Father, to help us and guide us. Father, I just ask, Lord, that you be with those, Lord, that are out there that are sick, or the shed-ins, Lord, the elders. Father, I just ask, Lord, you be with us. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
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 Okay, thank you, Counselor. With that, we move to item number 3, roll call. Secretary?
Good morning, Council. Okay, let's get on with roll call. Eddie?
Here.
Jeannie?
Here.
Ella Mae?
Honey.
Adeline? Frankie?
Here.
Sharon? Joyce? Here. Peggy?
Here.
Jamie?
Here.
Charles? Barry?
Yes.
Jeff?
Here.
Okay. Chief Counsel, we have quorum.
Okay, thank you for that. Next item on the agenda, old business allocation of COVID-19 funds received from the U.S. Treasury. We're in the middle of a planning stage, pretty much so today. With that, rather than to let the public know at this point in time all the different things we're looking at, I'd rather hold off on that and save that until we have something finalized to bring to the public at this time. If you will, with your goodness, I'd like to go into executive session to discuss that item in terms of discussing the allocation funds received. Now, I know today is a big day. We're not going to necessarily, absolutely, may not set aside funds, but let's talk about this. But let's talk about this amongst us, the council first. With that, I'd entertain a motion to go into executive session, if I may.
Chief, I got a question. I appreciate everything you're saying, and I understand what you're meaning. However, this money doesn't belong to everybody sitting at this table. It belongs to the people we represent. And we're here to discuss some ideas. I agree. I don't think any action necessarily should be taken today, just a discussion of things. But I have a presentation that I want to make about some of this funding, and it's regarding insurance for all of our people. I don't think there's a better opportunity than now to provide something that our people has been in desperate need of for many, many years, and that's an insurance policy. So I've got a couple of subject matter experts on tribal insurance that will make a presentation. I'm not opposed to the executive session as long as the council understands that those gentlemen will be here in a little while, and then they just want to come in and make a presentation and then leave. No action to be taken. Mr. AG, what do you say?
Well, I just wanted to make a record that a gentleman from the public, a tribal member, attended this morning and was upset that he couldn't attend because we closed the meeting to the public. So I checked with the secretary, and I believe the motion that we made to have this meeting at the last meeting, we said in that motion that it would be closed to the public. And so it was a council decision to do that because of the pandemic. So I told the gentleman that it was closed to the public because of the pandemic, and he was okay with that. He said he may still consult with a lawyer, but he, I think, was under the impression that one person maybe had made that decision. So once I told him that it was council's decision for the pandemic, I think he understood. And if you have presentations that you want to do, if there's nothing private or financial or personnel related, I don't have a problem with that being done in open session.
Let me ask a question. Was that gentleman wanting to make a presentation, or you just wanted to attend and sit in the meeting?
He just wanted to attend.
Okay.
That's what he said. I
Okay.
don't know exactly, but it sounded to me like he just wanted to attend and be in attendance at the meeting.
Okay, are you through? Okay. A couple of things. One is the intent is not to
You're off. You're off.
the,
There you go.
the intent is not to deceive the public, is basically what I mentioned just now. The thing is we want to be clear in what we state to the public. And that's what, because boy, we learned a lot over the last couple of weeks, haven't we? And so that is clearly the intent. Now, having said that, we initiated this as a closed meeting. Now we hear that there will be presentations, or the possibility of presentations. Now, why didn't we voice this before today, before the 11th hour right now? Assistant Chief.
Well,
Where are these
if I
gentlemen
may,
coming from?
I would say since council made the decision to have it be a closed meeting, it should probably be a council decision whether you allow presentations. Since council has already decided it would be closed.
Okay, I will go with that. I appreciate that. Yes.
And I just asked, where are these gentlemen coming from? Are they coming from out of state or what the? I mean,
Yes, corporate board. Yeah. Corporate board member. No, they're not coming from out of state. They've driven a substantial distance, so. But I thought we were here to discuss opportunities to spend this money for our people. Now, I don't know, is anybody in this room a subject matter expert on tribal insurance? If you are, then maybe you can make a presentation, but I think that having subject matter experts make a presentation and then leaving is quite something that we probably should entertain. In fact, we're here to represent our people, not keep them shut out. Now, like I said, I don't have a problem with them presenting in executive session or going into executive session, just as long as these gentlemen can make their presentation, give you the information, and then we can discuss it after their leave, after they're gone. There's nothing going to be, as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing going to be moved on today. Is that correct, Chief? Go ahead, Secretary.
Uh-oh.
Assistant Chiefs brought up, an insurance, and we've always asked, if you're gonna put something on the table, you need to have something to justify why you've brought it to the table. Okay, he has someone there, we also got an email regarding housing. They just put a number out there, where's, and it's not nitpicking, but, where's the documentation on that? They have an amount, on how they want to go with that. We still yet have to see that, but we know it's an interest due to the COVID. But I would want to enter executive session based on certain things that Chief has requested, but we could continue with business that's on the agenda up until that the insurance people get here, we hear them, and then we go on into executive session. Is that we can continue with business up until they get here. With the time
With a time limit in the event we do decide to go into presentation, we want to put a time limit on that because, again, there was nothing on the agenda that says presentation. This was a discussion amongst the council.
But it's about
So-
the COVID-19 funds. That's part of that.
I think that if we put a limitation on time, that I think that we would be missing out on important information. I think if we're going to entertain these people coming in to do a presentation, we need to listen to them in length, and we need to find out everything it is that they have to offer so that we can make a determination as to whether we want to attempt to utilize their services.
Okay, in the event we do this, in the event that goes that far, I suggest we do a 15-minute time limit on that, and that'll be enough time for them to put out the information.
As long as we need.
I think we need to, however long it takes for them to give a presentation, I think we need to listen to them in length so that we can get all the information that we can get, so we can make a good determination. I don't think that we should limit anybody on their presentation
Well,
today. I mean, we're here. We don't have an audience, a live audience here. We don't have questions to answer from people that are sitting right here. We have time. We've got time. This is what we're here for, is to serve our people, do our job, and try to get as much information as we can get. I think we would be cutting ourselves and our members short if we put a time limit on somebody being here.
well, certainly if they can't get through it in 15 minutes, I mean, you know, that's,
I suspect that they're not going to want to take up, 2 or 3 hours of our time because that's not necessary. So I appreciate all your comments, but I think we'd be doing an injustice to our tribal members if we don't hear what they have to say.
Exactly.
And then if you have questions, we can write them down and ask them later, but they're going to make a presentation on just what they, can present for insurance opportunities, and then they can go. That's all I'm asking. We're here to discuss opportunity to spend this money. We've only got about 6 months. We've already allocated 4.7, as Mr. Wakachi pointed out, but we've got to get to spending this money.
Just don't. You're just a moderator. We're supposed to tell you what we want to do, and that's what we're doing now. Is that right?
Correct.
So,
additionally, okay, all right, we'll get past that. We'll take a vote on that then. I do have some information I want to pass out, but look, let's pass this out. Let's go ahead and
How far out are these gentlemen?
I'm sure they're, I told them it's probably 10:30, 10:45 before we got through to be ready for them, because obviously we're starting late. Take one, pass it around.
yes, please. Council, thank COVID-19 funds together this. Now, we've had a couple. And the first part and foremost is that we need to decide whether if we're going to be the task force. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, what I was saying was we can approach this in many ways. A couple of ways that's right off the back is in the event we decide, just as we're bringing in professionals and to do a presentation today, we can bring in other professionals that will assist us in how to spend the money. One suggestion would be we pull our ideas together, work through the AG. Now, you don't have to do this, but we could send those suggestions to the Treasury Department for approval. Now, that's not required. There's nothing to that. The other part of it is we can hire a consultant that works on a committee with the Treasury Department that has audit skills as well and is a former controller for the Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma that would be willing to work with us and assure us that we could spend our money in a proper and fast way. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that the monies has to be spent to prepare for, to prevent, and to recover from coronavirus and COVID-19. The other part of it is the expenditures, the necessary expenditures needed to combat COVID-19 because of COVID-19. The funds must not be accounted for in the budget, in the most recent respected budget. The third part of that is must be incurred between March 26, 2020 and December 30th, 2020. So those 6 items pretty much dictate what we're going through. This is an unheard of, we've never seen this in the past. This is something that just came up and it's not gone away as of yet. But what I just handed out to you is, can we make a decision? I'd like to make a decision to hire a consultant to help us through this, or are we going to, in a task force made up of employees as well as council or directors and council and the AG to come together to prepare these plans for us as well? Any discussion on that?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Chief. I really do. And I just passed out a proposed resolution to go along with what the chief had just talked about. I believe that we need, and I use the term czar, somebody like he talked about that knows how to oversee this magnitude of money. This is a very large amount of money. Our tribe has never had this kind of money at one time placed upon us and had to spend it by December the 30th. It doesn't say we have to, commit this money. We got to spend it. We can't allocate it. It has to be spent, unless they change some of the wording later on, and hopefully they will, because other tribes have got a substantial amount too. They've got to spend. But I've put together, drawn some things from some of our own paperwork, policy procedures that we've already got in place from on the housing committee as well. But this is a resolution, a COVID economic security ordinance. This is hire somebody like he's talking about, an individual with the kind of subject matter expertise that to oversee this. I don't mean this disrespectful, but I don't think anybody here, including me, has the talent or the skill set to oversee this kind of a spending amount. So, but there are companies or individuals out there that we could bring in and contract with to do just exactly what this resolution points out. So it won't be tangled up between us, and we can all let that person, and if we don't like what that person's doing, then send them down the road and find another one. But this needs to be a company or an individual. And I visited with the AG about this, just at not at length, but to run it by him and explain to him what I was going to talk about here. So, Mr. AG, have you got any input that you'd like to add on this situation?
Well, generally speaking, it would be good to have somebody who's a financial, government, accounting, knowledgeable person to help oversee the funds to make sure you're spending them in a way that comports with the CARES Act. I know Finley and Cook is doing a service like that for some tribes, and others are as well. I'm not a CPA, I'm not a financial expert or accounting person, but I do think it would be good in general to have someone who can help you make sure you're spending the money. The money is appropriately under the CARES Act. It's difficult because the CARES Act is about 3 lines long with respect to tribes, and the guidance is not very clear either. And so there's a lot of gray areas here. If you do spend the money in a way that's not permitted, it then becomes a loan, which you would be expected to pay back to the federal government. So that's the danger of spending the money incorrectly. But just in terms of accounting procedures, I do think it'd be good to have someone help with accounting type stuff to make sure you can justify the expenses to the Department of Treasury.
Okay.
This-
Thank you for that.
Looking at this resolution right here, it states that it's to direct tribal departments and the UKB Corporate Authority Board in the disbursement and expenditure of funds right there. These funds right here were issued under Title V of the CARES Act. And Title V of the CARES Act is direct services to the people from the government of the tribe, not the corporate side of the tribe. The corporate side is entitled to funds under Title IV, Section 4003 to obtain funds. So I don't see how the corporate board is trying to get all authority over the disbursement and expenditure of these funds right here, whenever the funds were issued directly to the tribal government of the tribe, not the corporate board. So I don't know what this resolution is all about, but according to this right here, the UKB Corporate Authority Board has no authority over the Title V funds.
You're
The
correct.
tribal government has, and that's
You're-
us right here. So I don't know
You're
what this is right here.
Well,
Why you would present this, because you're the corporate board chairman. So I don't know why you would present this to us and try to say that the corporate board is going to have the authority over disbursement and expenditures of these funds.
well, you're absolutely correct in all your statements there. However, I don't see any way that these funds, there's already money going to those federal departments. There's money available for those federal programs too. And if you can come up with a way to spend this money without delegating some of it to the business or economic development, which it's very plainly says in there, you can do. There's a lot of lateral movement in this money for tribes to create economic development and COVID related. So you're 100% right. I don't disagree with you that the governing body's here, but if this council can't spend $24 million, it ought to delegate some up to the Economic Development Board that we can view it in to help combat this corona, like in the form of health care, a business setup, to bring money in to sustain and generate residual income for years to come for our people. Do you disagree with that?
I don't disagree with it. What I disagree with is under Title V of the CARES Act, which these funds are, it does not say for business economic growth. It clearly states only for the precautions and prevention under the COVID pandemic. So the only thing that you're entitled to under the corporate board for these funds are for disinfectant of your businesses. And also it goes back to your layoffs. If you had layoffs, your closures from March 1, it does not say anything about business development. You're entitled to funds under the Title IV. The corporate board is entitled to funds under Title IV.
I understand all that. I've already agreed. I've already agreed
actually,
with you.
Actually, it's a better opportunity for the corporate board because you have several other opportunities. Title V was only allocated $8 billion amongst the tribal governments. The Title IV was allocated in different intervals. Some of them have up to $454 billion allocated. So, and that's each business. How many businesses do you have? 6, 7? Some of them actually you could get up to $10 million for each business. So you're missing out on a possibility of $60 million for the corporate board by not applying through Title IV.
Well, let me ask you this. I agree with everything you're saying. But if you can't, this tribe, this council can't spend this money, or do you want to just give it back? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying we're going to spend it. We're going to spend it,
That's
but
what
it
we're here
goes to
today.
direct services,
That's what we're here
sir.
today to find
It
out.
goes
not
to
debate
direct
about what the
services.
corporate board
Okay.
has and
Okay.
has not.
Okay,
Is
this
that the-
this is gone. Okay, we're going to move on. Good point. Yes.
He's got yours.
He's got it. He took yours.
Council, if you'll notice that with the green tab there, that's the ones that we received in reference to the treasure that we received from the treasurer and the expenses. So that, and the one with the yellow tab that I have at your seating, that's the BIA money, the self-governance. So that's why I tabbed them that way, so you'll So the yellow represents the 2.4 and the green represents the 24 million from the treasury. So that's what that's what was sent to us. And then if you recall at our last council meeting, Clint said he would forward that information. That's just a copy of what he forwarded. So that's just to kind of give you an outline of the funds.
I would just like to add to that. I didn't get to finish that 2 weeks ago. You just asked for autonomy for the corporate board. And now 2 weeks later, here you come in and you say you want to get your hands in on this $24 million that the tribe has obtained under the Title V of the CARES Act. Whenever the corporate board has opportunities to obtain funds under the Title IV of the CARES
And
Act.
where of these documents says that we pay the $1,500 to each Katua member and those children. Where does that say? Wait, I ain't done.
Oh, go ahead.
Where you told our members they were going to get paid $1,500 and their children. Where does that say that? You lied to our people by telling them that. And I'm saying that and I told you then that we needed to do that. And we should have done that before you started promising all that to our people. And it is not right. And I still say what you did was wrong to our people.
I appreciate your opinion. And look under Internal Revenue Code, Section 139, and it clearly states right there. I sent out an email to everyone, and it under what Donald Trump on January the 31st, he issued a state of emergency on January, a public health emergency. And then also on March the 13th, he issued. And so that qualifies the funds of the CARES Act for disaster relief payments, direct disaster relief payments. If you would have read your email, you could have seen that. I sent that out several weeks ago, right after.
I have
So
the
so it's not a lie.
papers
It's not
right
a lie.
here from
Section
our
139.
AG
You just
that
told me to let.
says
One at a time,
we
please.
have-
We're
You just told me
does
to not interrupt
have
you, and now you're
anywhere
interrupting
that
me.
It says that we can make direct payments to our people. And that's from our AG.
That's
So
before
they-
that
so
was
you
before
know
he
more
seen
than
the
them.
information. That was before he seen the information that I sent him. I sent him the information, and it clearly states you don't even have to you don't even have to even acknowledge that you received the funds. It's not
Okay.
taxable. It's non-taxable. It's just
Okay.
like the stimulus funds that you received from the federal government, or that
Okay.
everybody was supposed to receive.
Thank you
It's
for that.
non-taxable.
Would you like to comment on that, AG?
I had my tax partner look into this, and the act itself is not clear. Jeff certainly has an argument that we could make to the federal government, but because it doesn't say expressly that these funds, well, first of all, it doesn't contemplate direct payments to tribal members in the act itself or the guidelines. And so there's nothing that says direct payments will be tax exempt. It may be tax exempt, but it's likely that the IRS will tax it. So, we just don't know. It's not clear at this point.
Okay, we're not making direct payments. The way I recall is the resolution says Corvid virus relief fund,
Yeah.
relief fund, or, right, but we're
Right.
not,
Don't believe they're gonna get that.
but,
But this one says, right, I've got your email.
Yeah.
It says that there's no, there appears to be no any direct authorization for distribution to tribal members. Now,
Okay.
where of that does it say that what we did was good?
Who's going to take the responsibility when our tribal members get a notice from the IRS saying you're taxed on this?
I'll point.
Who's going to go argue that point?
Well, I guess I would as your AG, and I would use the arguments, the information that Jeff's provided to argue that it's not taxable. But, you know, the federal government hasn't said expressly that these CARES Act funds, if given for emergency assistance to tribal members, will not be taxable. Normally, when the government doesn't say a payment is not taxable, then it is taxable. But we don't know. The IRS, to my knowledge, hasn't issued any guidance on it. We don't know. We just don't know at this point. Other tribes are providing similar assistance to their members. So, you know, some tribes are, some tribes aren't. It's a very gray area right now, unfortunately.
Well, hopefully it'll get some clarity, but we've already earmarked, how much did you say, Jeff, in the last meeting? I forget how much you had those numbers real handy there. What was it? We've already earmarked that, so we've got about 19.3 left that we need to figure out how to spend here. And I thought that's what we're here today, not to argue back and forth who, what the corporate board has and this and that. We're trying to figure out ways to make this work for our people.
That's it. Thank you for that. I'm going to do one more point on this. If you look at the application that we're going to use, down at the bottom it says there's something along the line that jeopardize future services with UKB and/or emergency. So we're notifying folks that this could in fact impact their services with the UKB as well as the taxes. So I'm going to leave. It's this emergency assistance is only granted under.
We actually have a request funding ideas from Human Services right here, also in front of us, and it states that they're looking into insurance, health insurance for the folks also. So that's one thing too that kind of conflicts with the corporate board and our actual services to the
Okay.
people.
The
that
corporate
we
board's not
direct
got
services.
anything to do with the insurance. This is for tribal people.
Okay, I think that's if it's allowable, if insurance for our people is allowable, again, preparation for prevention and recovery, as well as necessary expenditures due to COVID-19, as well as must be not on the previous budget, approved budget for the previous years, must be incurred between March 27th through December 20th, 30th of this year. So those are some of the parameters, the main parameters we get to work with. You had a question?
Yeah, I was just looking at this, you went on to, before I could ask a question on this application that you said, where it says, I will jeopardize future services with the UKB if they falsify any documents or whatever. So who's gonna check on that if they did or not? Because all they're required to do is to explain how it's affected them, right? So
Right.
is there some kind of a justification that they have to give in order to receive this, besides just saying, yes, it affected me this way?
Yes,
Is there any documentation
Yes.
that they have to attach to this to be able to justify?
yes,
What?
there is
There is?
justification behind it, yes.
Okay, so there's
Now-
documentation.
So do we have an actual list of things that fall within the category that's going to either qualify or disqualify them? Because, I mean, they're asking for clarification as
Yes,
to what.
basically, the majority of the folks do know and realize that if they accept this payment, it could in fact jeopardize their SSI, or their unemployment, or LIHEAP, or yes.
They
If
do
they're-
know that?
If they are, well, we're going to help them. We're going to inform them of that as well.
Okay,
See,
I think-
that's kind of like a double double-bladed sword here for our people. You know, you want to go and you want to push a check at them for $1,500. It's like you want to dangle it in front of them, but then you want to say, but hang on a minute. And see, these are questions that should have been answered before it was ever put out there, because we have members that are in the nursing homes that depend on SSI. This could ultimately cut their monthly payments. We have people that may be on like SNAP program for food stamps. If they have to count this for income, that's going to take food out of their children's mouth.
Again, we're making this available. If they see that and we've forewarned them, they don't have to accept this.
Why should there have to be any forewarning?
That's not.
That's not
fair
okay to do
them.
that to people.
That's not fair to them to,
That's
because
not
right
fair
now.
to anyone, period, yeah.
But listen, you know, if a person is really needing money to pay for something and they see this 1,500, but you know, they're not thinking about further down the road, this might affect me. They're looking at it right there because they need that money for whatever it is that they need it for. They're not thinking about, okay, how's that going to affect my SSI? How's that going to affect my taxes? How's that going to, they're not going to be thinking about that. We can't, that's kind of like telling them, you know, here it is, but it's up to you, whatever happens to you at the very end. You know, that's not fair to the people. And we say most of them understand. I will not say most of them do. I don't see where you put it out there where they're going to understand it. I don't see that anything's been put out there for them to grasp and to try to understand.
You're
You see
correct.
what I'm saying? You know, I
But
don't
it
think
will
it's
be
fair
done.
to the
It will be
people.
done. And again, it will be up to them. Okay.
Them. Okay.
Okay? All right.
That's dirty.
Yes, sir.
That is dirty.
I'm reading in here where if we don't spend this money correctly, we're gonna pay it back. Everybody
Correct.
read that?
Correct.
And what we need to do, in my opinion, this is just me, is to hire somebody that knows what they're doing about this thing, not, as long as it's not just cost prohibitive, and instead of just us trying to put it together, you can't do that. You have to have somebody that's got the knowledge to do this thing with. The federal government can make anything out of it they want to make of it. That's the reason they gobbledygook it, so you can't understand what they're talking about. So you're gonna have somebody, people. I don't know whether it's cost prohibitive or whatever, but we need to hire someone to distribute these funds or do whatever needs to be done. Somebody that's knowledgeable, not some idiot like me.
Thank you for that. Yes, we spoke about that a little bit earlier. Yes, we're on the right track. Thank you.
I know that you want to move on, but I really, this just, it hurts my heart for the reason being that, you know, we're going to dangle $1,500 in front of people. They've already possibly been through things that are out of the normal. They are struggling, and we may put them back into struggle at the end of the year whenever it comes to taxes, or it could be immediately when it comes to their incomes. If it's added to their incomes for a month, I think that we need to work this out better so that it doesn't devastate them in the end. I think that's our responsibility to do that, rather than just put a check out there and dangle it in front of them and safe in for yourself and decide it all out for yourself later on.
Good.
I agree with that. Also, Mr. Wakachi stipulated exactly who's going to get this money, the amount that's going to get this money in his resolution. But we used a very significant more number than that to get this money. Very large, more number than what Mr. Kachi threw out there. So there's people that's already contacted me, and I'm sure some of you have that already been happening to you, that said, hey, you used me to get this money, now you're going to deny me. So that's something else that we've opened up a can of worms here too, just letting you know.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to move forward.
Are you gonna be out there at the tribal office to tell our members when they come in, whether they're exclusive or not? Are you gonna be there to tell them, no, we can't help you because this might, some may not be exclusive? So what are you going to tell them? I mean, will it be you or will it be the staff?
The staff will be there. I will be in the building. Hey, look,
Chief,
look,
I feel like
I've already been cussed out over all this too. You know what?
Yeah,
That's
We
the
all
way.
have.
They were
It-
all over at the office, but it was the staff that was having to answer the questions.
Look, ladies and
That's
gentlemen,
not right.
ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for folks that didn't know or didn't know at the time when they were signing up for a different program or anything of that nature. I apologize for those folks. Feel bad for them. But for the folks that were true blue and stayed UKB members, why not? That's double dipping in a sense. You know that? That's because CNO uses our numbers as well.
Will
And-
it be you or will it be the?
Well,
the
if it has
rest
to
of
be,
the council
if it
that
ha-
has to answer to them when they say, well, you got that money because of me, but you're not gonna let me have it. That's what's gonna happen.
yeah,
There's people out
yeah.
there.
Hey,
who's
I'll be more than
gonna-
happy to stand out there.
They're gonna get a lawyer against you, at me, at us here. Because they can win if if you use their name to get this money, then we're gonna have to answer to that. It won't be just me and him, it'll be all of us here. Because that's what's gonna happen. They don't like it.
Okay, yes.
I've got a member in my district, can you hear me? But he's in a nursing home, and that's what, he said, if I get that money, he said, they're gonna take it. The nursing home's gonna take it. So I went over and I talked to the administrator there. I said, if he gets his money that we're talking about through the gratuitous, he said, we can't mess with tribal money. That's what she told me.
That's good information, Charles. Thank you for that.
Did you get it written down on paper somewhere? You need to get that then, because we need justification.
Okay.
We're gonna need documentation.
Okay, thank you for that. We're going to move on out. Basically, on the first page of that, it does have what we need to do. I've talked about task force to produce a list to the council. They're the ones that are going to be working. I'd like to have a 5-committee member. Who wants to volunteer for that 5-committee member? I'd like a couple of employees to be a part of this too. A couple of directors and to be a part of this, as well as a member of the corporate board. So I've got Eldine Stevens as well as Jennifer and any of the other directors that may want to be a part of this. But that's 2 to 3. How many of the council member wants to be a part of that? Now, having said that, once this is created, once this looks at finalizing what the projects are, we will then have somebody that is well-educated, well-mannered in terms of what we can spend this money for and what we can't spend it for. They'll give us a yay or a nay up front. Therefore, we won't do that project if we don't get the approval for that. So that's what that's all about. Okay.
I think before there's actually decisions made on any kind of task force, I don't like the fact that you say, okay, we're going to put together a task force and I've already got these 2 people.
Yeah.
That's not how you make a task force. I think if we're going to do this, I really think that we have kind of gotten off track here. We are kind of arguing about things that have already happened. We just need to move on. We need to not fix what's been done, but more like, how do you say? I can't even say it. Just make sure that we get it right so that we don't have any problems over determinations that's already been made. And I think we need to just go into executive session because I think right now there's a lot of information that we're putting out that people are seeing, and it's just not, it's not good. We need to go behind closed doors and we need to figure out what kind of plan we can come back out with for our people.
That's a pretty good idea. I see one thing on your list here, Chief. It's got funeral home with all funeral home activities, purchase or bill 2 million. Are you going to set that up as a charity funeral home or a business?
For our tribal members and our services, yes, it'll be a service.
Question. You're
That-
going to
that
build,
answered
you're going to
that
build a
question,
funeral
exactly.
home just for
You
our
said,
members to use?
Service or a business? I said service, so there you go.
So it's not going to be a business. Then how are you going to sustain it? What kind of funding? Charge anybody for,
We will charge, but it will be the,
that's a business if you charge. Then you violate the Corporate Board Act that this council approved in
you
2015.
know, that poses an interesting question. AG, Mr. Attorney General, if you would please, look in the Corporate Board Act and define whether or not the corporate board is the sole business maker. That is, I do not see that anywhere. So I've read it a while ago. I may be misunderstanding that, but as a whole, there's other tribes that do that. Why not us? If the corporate board takes life, why not us?
I'm not opposed to it at
Not
all.
the
I think it's a
corporate board,
great
it's the
idea,
corporate
but I
virus
think it
takes-
needs to be making money.
Well,
It has to
We can do
sustain
that.
itself or this money will run out and then you won't have nothing to, you have to shut the doors because it costs money to put people on the ground.
exactly. And that would be a service to our folks, our tribal members. And we could utilize the burial assistance program. We could keep that going.
Ways that can be done, can't do it directly.
Okay. Hey, let's do that. While we're waiting on the definition, let's go to this repair the roof for the Nutrition Center Administration Building. Security keyless entry door system for all buildings. Part-time drivers for transportation. Part-time receptionists for the administration offices. Bulk orders of PPE to include face masks, gloves, sanitation, water, toilet paper, toilet products, sanitary products. A 10-unit apartment building in Stillwell. Now, this is what was talked about earlier that didn't have a lot of information to it, but that would be something that I think that could be doable. Here again, we got to see the background on that in the paperwork. A controller to help monitor the funds. Project consultant to review our projects and to enlist in line with to ensure in line with our CARES Act. 4 50 by 100 community multi-purpose buildings in our heavy populated area. The one in Sequoia County, the one maybe in maybe 5. 50 by 100 buildings, multi-purpose building. In the event we have to store PPE in those buildings, in the event we have a storage space for food, in the event we have a need for educating folks out in the community, we'll have a meeting place there. I know we scrounge around to get one, but we have one of our own. That's something I think is doable. Okay. The funeral home. The next one is along the line of unrestricted funding to assist those who are, in my mind, that fall between the cracks. In other words, the ones that are getting denied because they're barely over the income guidelines and so on. Now, I don't know whether that's doable or not, but that's something we sure want to look at. Funding to assist uninsured tribal members.
Chief,
Yes.
on the unrestricted funding to those who are over the income guidelines, the guidelines have been doubled on most of the like commodities and stuff like that. And so it's actually each person, I mean, it's like for one single person up to like $80,000 that you can make.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's like if you're, yeah. It's almost impossible not to qualify.
I understand.
Because of the
Good point.
pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's my thing. I understand, everything is always income-based income guideline. You know what? COVID-19 does not discriminate. I don't care if you make
Exactly.
$100,000 a year or you make $20,000 a year. It does not discriminate. Whenever you fall into that and you're needing assistance, the person that makes the $100,000 versus the $20,000, they're all going to need the same amount of assistance. You know what I mean? You can't go and say, oh, well, you made $100,000 last year, so you don't qualify for any money. But yet, these are the people that put the money in the pot. These are the people, these are the reason why we have the money is because of these people. And everybody should not be restricted to services right now because of the COVID-19.
Okay?
And yeah, that's what I meant that right there. You just might have didn't understand. I meant that it was, right now the folks that didn't qualify already are able to qualify for food, everything. So I mean, it's a lot easier for the folks to actually receive stuff. And if we can provide even more, I mean, that's better. Right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all helpful, and just trying to get information out to the people that don't realize that they can contact local food pantries here in town, and they qualify for that now. I mean, like I said, it's like the very bare minimum is like $80,000 to receive like assistance with food and everything. So it's
Okay, thank you for that.
Chief,
Yes,
I'd like to say something, please.
please.
We had a meeting the other night, and you were here, with the housing department, and I brought up a suggestion, and I said I would like 2 million of that to go to renovations. And we have a lot of people out there that need their houses renovated. I don't see that list on here. I don't see that anywhere.
I apologize. You're right. I did not put that on there.
Okay,
But thank you for bringing that out.
All right, but the housing attorney was here, and she said we could really justify that to get, and I wanted to give it to housing so they could work with that because they know how to renovate and they have the people to do that.
They're asking for
And they know what the needs are. And some people, it might just be a matter of a roof or fix their electrical things, plug-ins or something. Anything that people could use to renovate their houses. And I'd like to make a motion for that when the motion time comes.
Okay, that's a great idea. But the
Thank
thing,
you.
but the thing is, when that time comes, we want to be able to look at the whole project, not just those few words. We want to see how it is effective and so on, like we talked about a while ago. So good point, great point. Okay.
Chief, can I speak for just a second?
Yes.
Or AG's got something. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I just had an update. Can you hear me? I just had an update on the Corporate Board Act. In Section 202, Establishment of the Corporate Board, it does say that the UKB Corporate Board is expressly organized to operate and manage the UKB Federal Corporation and all other corporate and business ventures of the UKB, and generate funds for the furtherance and accomplishment of any authorized and proper public function or purpose of the corporation in the UKB. So it doesn't say sole, but it does say all other corporate and business ventures of the tribe.
Well, thank you for that. You could have worded it a whole lot differently, in my opinion, but thank you for that.
and
So
Chief-
we'll have to work on that.
If I may,
Yes.
when we're getting into some of the nitty gritty of how we are hoping to spend some of this money, it might be better to do some of that in executive session. That's just the thought of mine, because right now the regulations and guidelines aren't clear, and we want to make sure we're doing it in the best way possible.
I agree.
Correct. Thank you for that.
Chief, I'd like to say something.
Yes,
when
ma'am.
we get time. One of the biggest problems that we have in this tribe, and everybody knows this, is that, I don't know about y'all, but with me as being council person and my constituents, when they have a need in the past and as it is today, that need has never been addressed and taken care of because we don't have the money. And there are a lot of needs out there. I have people that come to me that literally have to pay for their health care, for CPAPs, for glasses, for dentures, a lot of things that Medicare, Medicaid, even IHS doesn't pay for. And all of us know if they go to Hastings, wherever, outlying Cherokee Nation clinics, they don't get serviced. And in regards to that, I'm looking at this list and I'm seeing a lot of things that would benefit the complex, a roof on a building, etc., transportation, hiring new employees, and the needs are still out there. We're still not addressing the needs our constituents have. That's a part of our job, or that's what I feel like my job is. I'm basically a social service worker. I might be a council person and come up here and try to iron out these issues from the top. But you know, I'm a very basic human person. I can get down to their level when I go into a home when they don't have decent housing. They have never had decent housing. And I really honestly feel like we can justify the spending of this money because we do need it. We do need it for our people. And like she said, housing has always been a number one need among our people. When we have 5 generations living in one household, we can justify putting maybe a couple of generations in a different home. And the other is when it gets right down to it. When we look at the needs for our people, I really think those needs need to be addressed first. And if it's through social services, then so be it. And when Jeff introduced that the other day in that meeting, I'm not going to say I told you so, but one of the things that we discussed in that meeting, I kept saying we need to do a needs analysis. And we also need to check the government criteria. Every time the government sends us money, we need to find out what they want first. And from here on out, if nothing else, we have learned from this lesson, we need to start doing that. Anytime we get money or a promise of money, okay, what are we supposed to do? We need to look at it first before we jump into it. But okay, so now we're going to have to fix this. And I would like to see it fixed to the point to where the people benefit. Not this complex. I realize we have our needs here. We hired an HR to meet a lot of those needs. And we set up a system. We do have a system of hiring people. And granted, there's a lot of times we have to wait for money before we can hire people. But some of this list, if we break it down, we really need to break it down to the needs of the people. And the needs of the tribe right now is to make money for our tribe so we can have in-house money. To the point to where we have survived on grant money. And that's what I said yesterday. The Katuas, we have always been poor. We know what it's like to be poor. We've never had any money to do anything with. When my constituents have needs, I can send them to housing, I can send them to Jennifer, but that doesn't mean it's going to be taken care of. Jennifer in housing may not have any money to help them take care of these needs. So when we look at this, I really would like for us to look at it from the standpoint of the constituents. And, you know, and what she said about fixing all of this, I don't know how we're going to do that.
I agree. That's
All right.
the
Well,
way
thank
we
you for
were
that.
supposed to have been doing that all along. And our people would not have been, they're sitting out there waiting for that big money, you know? And I don't know if we are going to be able to do it legally. That's what we needed to do. And I've always said that was the only reason why I voted no, because we weren't ready for it. That's all.
I agree.
Chief, let me
Well,
read something.
thank you for that.
Let me read something right here. In addition to the CARES Act funding, which is the 8 billion we're talking, that 24 million, we got part of that. There are tribal allocations through BIA, BIE, Department of Human Health and Services, HUD, CDBG, Children and Family Services, distance learning and telehealth grants, rural health grants, education waivers, and museum and library assistance. What that tells me is like what Mr. McConchie said a while ago, there's all kinds of funding available that each one of our directors can go after for their departments
Right.
above and beyond this 24 million. So he's right.
Yep.
Chief,
They are. Yes, sir.
I'm reading here where they're talking about a desire. If you don't do these things according to what the federal government wants you to do it, the tribe can think whatever they want to think. But when you start allocating money and here and there and the other, you better make sure that you're following the guidelines that the federal government is handing down to you. If you don't, you're going to be sorry for it. I didn't hear somewhere, I don't know exactly what page it's on, says if you mismanage this money, you're going to pay every penny of it back to the federal government.
That's
if we
correct.
don't do it right, people, I'll tell you what I think, and in my opinion is this. If you don't want to hear me, Chief, say so. Do you not want to hear me?
We've been going over this for the last 45 minutes.
Well, okay,
Yeah, same
big
thing.
deal. It
Same thing.
is a big deal.
It
The
is.
point I want to get over on this thing is, if we don't do this thing right, we're going to get into it. It's just that simple.
Okay.
I don't like your attitude, Chief.
Hey, I would like to also add that under Title V, it does state that the funds can be utilized into a trust, interest-bearing trust, and your tribe can live off of that right there. And so, I mean, that would be a consideration that we could do, as long as you utilize the funds as a under 601 of the Social Security Act, and also under the eligible stuff under the Title V. So, so the eligible expenses and everything. So, there's stuff that we could utilize that into a trust and utilize the interest off of it.
What was the name of that trust, or what type of trust was it? Because I think that's
It's
a
just
really good
it's
idea.
just an interest-bearing trust.
What did you say? I didn't. This over here.
She said, "What was the name?"
I
of the
was
trust?
just
It was
asking him.
It's called an interest-bearing trust, and
Uh-huh.
you can allocate the money to that right there, and
Yeah, I mean, the thing
utilize
is-
that in the future.
Yeah,
And so,
I mean,
yeah,
if we could
yeah,
put it,
yeah,
if we could
exactly,
put money
yeah.
into a trust like that, and then
Yeah.
it'd be there for the
Yeah.
future, that right there is a big deal.
Yeah,
That's a
'cause-
good thing.
Yeah, because we've been living off of what if we put 10 million in there in a trust, and we've been living off of that right there already. 3%
Right.
of that right there for
Right.
years anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Hey.
I mean, that would just be extra funds that we can
Okay.
utilize for services. For
Okay, before
done.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, that could be done underneath the Title V CARES Act also.
before we get out there on that, let's make sure that the interest off of that has to be used for some form of coronavirus preparation, prevention, and recovery. That's what that was set up for as well. So thank you for that. Yes. Incidentally, after you get past the pages, there is in your attachment today, Coronavirus Relief Fund frequently asked questions updated as of May 28th, 2020. I got this yesterday afternoon late. I didn't get a chance to get it to you, but here you have it, and that answers some of those questions that you had. It does, in fact, talk about what we just talked about, setting monies aside for that interest. After you get past handwritten page 1, 2, and 3, there's where you find it. Right. This is an update. That's in addition to what we was. So there is some information that, and I apologize, I didn't get it until yesterday afternoon late, and so we have it today. With that, that will take care of item update to the economic relief package, procedures on reopening. Basically, on the 15th, will be. Would you help me out in talking about that a little bit, please? The reopening suggestions from the staff. I would say let's go ahead and do those. Yes.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I was looking up the, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry.
What we decided was we're going to have one for the main building, which is federal programs, one main entrance. All the employees will have to go through there. We will test their temperature. We have a temperature gauge deal now. Give them a wristband for that day. And in all the public areas of the building, which is your hallways and stuff like that, you will be required to wear a mask. Once you get to your office, employees can take their mask off and they don't have to do it wear their mask inside their own office. So basically, whenever you just kind of venture out into public areas of the building, you just want to have your mask on. The other people that's in other buildings, when they come over, we will test them too, everybody will need to be tested that's working that day, just to be precautionary. We just don't want to infect somebody bringing something in because you really don't know who you came in contact or who may be asymptomatic out there and carrying it, and you bring it in and we pass it along to other people inside the tribe. So we just got to do our due diligence and protect ourselves, protect your fellow employee and stuff like that. Anytime we have outside mail, when my guys get the mail, we are required to wear gloves. If you get a package, wear the gloves, open up, when you're handling the package, or we can spray it down with Lysol and stuff like that. So, but it's just, we've got to take some necessary precautions to protect everybody.
Additionally, there will be plexiglass stations as well, will they not?
Yes, they've got the plexiglass down there. It will be at the main, George's desk, basically. We'll have one there. They do have the outside box. I think they've got that installed outside the front door
Good.
now. So anybody can drop an application in or stuff like that.
Good.
As far as tag and all that, I know we discussed in that little meeting yesterday. We've got some huge tents we can put up, and we do have a fan because it's starting to get hot, but we'll kind of circulate some air. Put these tents up for when we have people come in waiting to get their tag in that little patio area between the buildings. Yes, I believe so.
What about our seniors that's been working here? Are we gonna furlough them until the end of September as some other places are doing? Yeah, that's why I'm asking. Or
I believe that was the idea and the
Yeah.
intent in the beginning, but I don't think that everybody has been complying with it. I know a few have been, but I do also know that there are some of the elders that was told to stay home that haven't been doing so.
I know that was one of the suggestions when we come up with this, is that our 65 and over
Right.
stay home, remain on administrative leave. But that's entirely up to y'all on how that turns out. But that was one of the suggestions until we can get, there's a better handle on this.
Georgia.
So
Let me get this clear here. This is a mandatory rule that's gone into effect by who?
Yes, by us, by me.
I sent it all to the
Yeah,
council.
you all have already seen this.
So what you're saying here, if I get my brain wrapped on this thing, our constituents that we represent show up at this place that they own, you guys are going to require them to put on a mask to come to their own facility? This is still a free country, isn't it?
It's a
Well,
precaution, is all it is. It's just a
here-
precaution.
I mean, how are we going to enforce that upon the people?
Here's the deal, okay? They
I
may come.
understand all the
But it-
precautions. I
but
understand
Jamie, we
that,
don't want
but
people to get sick. I mean,
I understand that.
But we need to
when's it
take
going
the
to
necessary
stop?
precautions.
When's it going to quit? When are we going to stop this type of behavior?
As soon as there's no more deaths and no more
Well, that's
active
never going
cases,
to, everybody's going to die.
particularly because of this.
I mean,
Right.
I think we need to do our due diligence
I
and
agree.
respect everybody and try to not infect. You may not know you're infected, but you go out there and you don't wear a mask and you infect somebody. How are you going to feel if that person dies?
Thank you.
If they've got I think if you're going to do that and get to that extremity, you probably be put goggles on because you can acquire this through your eyes.
Right. I mean,
So are
but
we going
would-
to get to the extremes where we put goggles on people?
We're going to.
Not at this point,
let's
no,
don't
not
be
at this point,
hypocritical
but
about
that's-
it. Let's go all the way.
It's not being hypocritical, it's just
I'm
being
not, I'm
precautionary.
saying
Okay.
if we're going to try to enforce people to do this, then if you can contract it through your eyes, I think that's some things need to be taken into consideration. Maybe the PPE, I know all about PPP. I'm an OSHA instructor. But maybe we need to have some goggles there for people who don't too.
We
I'm
can-
just
we can
throwing
get
out
goggles.
things here. We're going to
I
have to
mean-
protect people. Maybe we need a hazmat suit to put them on.
Well,
Walk around.
we've got masks, we've got gloves. We
Yeah.
will provide it to the public
Hey.
if they need to come in. And if
Yeah,
we want
we-
to have goggles, we can get goggles.
Let's do that. Let's add that to the list. All
Yes,
right.
we got money to do it.
Okay, that's the next page behind that is what we discussed yesterday. Some of those suggestions were what we already went over as far as that goes. Of course, there was one suggestion that came late this morning, and it identified a budget for cleaning supplies and things of that nature for the museum, about $4,000 to go for that, and we will look at that as far as, yeah, that's an expense for COVID virus as well. So, yes.
Yeah, I kind of have a little bit to add here. And I had been talking to some members, I've had a lot of phone calls. And a few things that have been suggested, and one of the most important that I think have been suggested is we need to pour some money into the education, because there's people out there that have lost their jobs, and right now would be a great opportunity for them to, if they so choose, to be re-educated, retrained in whatever it is that they choose, And I've had a lot of people ask me, would this something that we maybe could roll around to put some money into for people to go to school?
That's a great point. Good point as well. If everybody wanted to go into nursing, that would be something that we could look at, correct? Or any
Yeah,
of the
because
other,
it's long-term. Nursing would be long-term. I
Yeah.
mean, it would cover
right,
everything.
stuff like that, yeah. Okay,
Or even just anybody that's essential workers.
Mental health counseling,
Yeah,
suicide prevention. These are all
Right.
things that are very important.
yes.
that was some of the things what the assistant chief just mentioned was some of the things that the corporate board brought up as well in regard to, I guess, a money-making venture rather than service. But
Right.
that's some of the things, case counselor as well to manage the cases and so on. Let's see what else. The insurance as well. That's been covered by 2 or 3 different entities as well. So that's where we're at there. Now, having said that, yeah, let's do that. Can we do? Hang on.
No, we needed, the task force is something that we need to like talk about privately. I don't think that we should just be throwing people on there that we admire.
The Attorney General had a couple of comments just a little bit ago as we were around the table regarding the issue that happened prior to opening the meeting this morning. Regarding the gentleman outside. If you allow, make sure I'm saying this right.
Yeah.
If you allow the insurance presentation to happen, then this gives the gentleman outside an argument to sue. So the recommendation would be to have the insurance presentation. We can have the information available. If they have handouts and stuff, then we can receive those. If we have questions, then you can have them ready and ask them to come on our June 6th meeting.
I agree with that.
Yeah, that was an option I thought of just because you have had one member already threaten to sue you. You could, if council wants to hear the insurance presentation today, obviously you have the power to do that, but I'd recommend you do that by motion that you actually vote on, because this meeting was called as a closed meeting by council. So you need a motion to document that you're allowing people in, and that could give him an argument, you know, if he wanted to sue us. So that's just, I just wanted to make sure that council votes on bringing the insurance folks in if you want them to do them today. And then alternatively, we're meeting next week, so I thought you could do it next week.
I'll
too.
sit down a motion for them to come on the 6th to present. I'll make a motion for the insurance company to come back on the 6th to present whenever we get yeah, we can get the information now. That can give us all time to review it. We can have our questions ready and then let them come back on the 6th at our regular council meeting.
And we can list them on the agenda as a presentation
Yes,
at that time.
exactly. We'll be more prepared.
And you, if you do that, you might consider allowing the public to the public portion of the meeting, but maybe require masks and social distancing. If you do allow the public in, just, you know, separate out the chairs 6 feet or something like that.
That's been the question that I've been asked by many constituents from everybody's district. When are you going to allow the people to come back to their meeting? When are we going to allow our constituents to come to sit in these meetings? Now, this one was voted a closed meeting, and I agree with that, but next Saturday, are we going to make that a closed meeting, or should we have it out there on that pavilion with all this equipment set up where people can be outside? Because it's a pretty known fact that it's not going to hurt anything being outside.
That's exactly what he was saying. You know, if we're going to open it up, then at least use common sense and use social distancing.
I think this room might have enough space, but I think it'd be fine to go ahead and start opening your meetings back up again. Just ask people to wear masks and social distance.
I like the idea of the pavilion, though. That's pretty good.
And if we have a thermometer, do temperature, one of the light
Right.
thermometers, do
Exactly.
temperature checks on people
I
coming
agree
in
with
just
that.
to make sure they don't have a fever.
I agree with that.
Clarification here, are we asking them to wear a mask or requiring them? There's a
Required.
difference, because some of them might, not want.
I don't want to wear a
It'd be
mask.
It'd be a requirement. If you want to be
If
here,
you want
it's
to
going
come
to
to
be
the
a
willing to
meeting, you
take the
have to wear
risk.
one.
If we're going to require it, I'd recommend we have some masks available because people may not have masks.
Charlie said we got some, do we not? We have masks to hand out to people that want to join.
You might put that out there. If you're coming to the meeting, you have to wear a mask. You might have to put that out there.
Because if you put a suggestion on there and then there, it's gonna be like, just like you said, you're not afraid. You're gonna have other people that say they're not afraid too, but the person next to me might be afraid. And that's disrespectful to that person.
Well, I got a grandson I gotta worry about his health.
Right. We all have grandchildren that we should be worried about. I wouldn't want to see any of my grandchildren in the hospital with this. That's not exactly true. Here's the deal. I can't.
Yeah. Yeah, the Lord gave you the mind to make the right decision too, and that's to be safe.
Thank you.
Let's move on.
Make the right decision, and that's to be safe.
The Lord gave you the mind to make the right decision, and that's to be safe.
Okay.
So use your wisdom and be safe.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna tell you people something else. This is old time stuff, but it looks to me like we're heading down the road where we're just trying to put the bits on everybody. It's just stuff, things like this happen, and eventually it will go away. But I'm going to tell you what was proposed at one time by this, in front of this council. It was proposed by the Attorney General at one time that what we do is nobody comes to the general meeting like we're having here right now. Nobody except the council people, chief, vice chief, and down the line. The council people went and they had their council meeting in their district, and they told the people what happened at that particular meeting. If people, I'm telling you what, you want to be careful. You paint yourself into a corner. Watch what you're doing. Be careful. But anyway, it never did come to the floor to be passed or not. George, you was there, wasn't you, George, when they pulled that little stunt? Well, things can get plumb out of hand, people, if you don't watch it. You want to watch what you're doing, period. Thank you.
Okay. With that, I think the assistant chief is going to get either get the information to bring in and distribute, or we'll allow the other folks to bring the information in and distribute, and then we're bringing them up. I'm sorry?
Made a motion.
What kind of motion?
To have them come in next Saturday.
Oh,
Keep us from getting sued.
I don't hear you.
Did anyone second? Nobody second? Okay. But it's just to have them do their presentation. I did. I made a motion. I did. I used it.
Turn it up, chief.
I used the mic.
What are you proposing, Gal? I didn't understand.
Okay, my motion was to have the presentation done on next Saturday's meeting for us to go ahead. The insurance presentation, yes. We can go ahead and collect all of the information and data that they have today to take home with us. And we have a whole week to examine it and be able to prepare our questions.
Who is asking to come and play or to do the presentation?
Jamie is bringing in a insurance company for a
okay.
presentation.
I thought it was one of our CATUA members.
Well, what it is we had a CATUA member that wanted to come in. Since it was a closed meeting, he was denied that. And then the presentation, we found out we had presenters here, so it wouldn't be fair to let the presenters in and then not let him in because he's already threatened to sue the tribe. And we didn't have it on the agenda. There was no knowledge of it prior, so to keep ourselves safe, we'll do it next Saturday.
I myself, I think that insurance is a good deal,
I think it is too.
because I had a couple member call me yesterday. He couldn't afford his medicine. He didn't have
Right.
insurance.
Yeah, I think that we need to set aside some type of fund and give them a monthly amount, you know? Give them all a monthly spending amount.
We need to get this thing going.
Mhm.
Thank you. Jennifer's got that on there.
You what? Yeah, I seen that. They need to sit down together.
Right.
They put their heads together and figure it out.
Right. Yeah. And the thing is this is something that everybody needs to understand. There also are other corona-related viruses.
Okay, I can't hear you.
Okay.
There's also other coronaviruses that are related to COVID-19. It's just not COVID-19 that's out there right now.
Correct.
So, because I fell ill myself, and it was no joke. And I didn't have COVID-19, but I did have a coronavirus-related illness.
Oh,
Okay.
my granddaughter did too.
Did she
But
really?
it was in early March. But they said that it was not corona, but she had all the symptoms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, mine was tested and it was determined to be a form of coronavirus, but it wasn't the COVID-19
Yeah.
because there's two different.
Oh, so. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh. Oh, okay.
They left their stuff here and they said, let's give you the time. Read through it, get questions.
Yeah.
You know, about it.
Okay.
And it's not set in
Right,
stone, it's
okay.
a starting point for based on the number.
I don't know what I did with my business card, but I need more from him. Okay.
Yes, sir.
We should go ahead and vote to add them to the agenda for next week because the agenda's already been posted. So you should probably still vote on Jeannie's motion just to add it to the agenda officially.
Did anybody, you make the motion second?
Who seconded? We got 3 seconds, so.
Additionally, could we add anyone else to that? Not just the insurance folks, but anybody that,
Yeah, if you got other presenters, I think they all need to be here talking about it.
well, the thing is what happened was a surprise visit is something different than something that's been on the agenda as well. So, yeah. So if you will approve that, hey, at least a resume. or
Well,
something.
I mean, well, maybe we should set down a resolution that says that we have like a time limit. If there's going to be presenters that's added to the agenda, they got to have time to modify and prepare it. So
Yeah.
is that,
Yeah.
does that sound okay, Joyce, or?
Well, you,
RWI.
yeah, we just made the argument though a while ago that you don't want to, you want to get the whole presentation, so you don't want to put a time limit on them. So
I didn't
mean,
say anything about a time
we
limit.
we just go with.
No, what I'm
let's just-
talking about is for her to be able to add people on.
Oh, the
If we're
time
gonna,
limit
if
for
we're
that.
gonna
Okay,
add
okay.
more
Oh,
people to
okay,
the
okay,
agenda,
I
more
see.
presenters.
Okay, I see the
then
time limit to
we
add
should- we
presenters.
should, like-
Okay, I see.
We should like maybe have a cutoff like this Tuesday, because otherwise she's gonna be overwhelmed with trying to get the agenda and everything modified for us for.
Yeah, I
next
just
Saturday's
misunderstood.
meeting.
I'm sorry. I thought you meant to put a time limit on the presenter, and I was like, yeah, we just said no time limit. Just
I
let
think
them-
any
to get the
presentations
full
that we could get
information.
right now
Yeah.
would be helpful for all of
Yes.
us.
Okay, so if we have people that want to present, then they can come Saturday and do a presentation.
Yeah, but we just need to know, we need to let Joyce know, like, maybe like by Tuesday, cut it off by
Okay,
Tuesday.
but, okay,
Then that way she can modify the agenda.
okay.
But I think any presentation, any suggestion, anything that we can get from the public, I think it will be a good thing right now. Let's vote on it.
Like Jeannie to add RWI, have RWI added to the agenda for 10-6, seconded by Peggy.
Right.
As well as, any individual that talks about the specialist for the, audit, that sort of thing that will identify, just be a resume.
Let's vote on this and then we'll do another resolution for our presenters, if that's okay.
Okay, okay, council, we have, we had a motion by Jeannie and a second by Peggy, and that was to move the insurance presentation, which is RWI, to the regular June council meeting 2020. I will call for vote. Eddie?
What's the motion?
Oh, yeah, I forgot. To move that presentation to next Saturday's council meeting, June the 6th. Okay, Jeannie?
Yes.
Ella May?
Yes.
Adeline?
Hawa.
Frankie?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yeah.
I vote yes. Peggy?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Charles? Barry?
Yeah.
Jeff?
Yes.
Okay, Chief, council motion carries.
Okay, now I'd like to make another motion for us to allow other presenters to come in next Saturday's meeting and have like a deadline date for us to get those in by at least Tuesday, a cutoff date, so that you're not overwhelmed with trying to get the agenda remodified. Does that make sense?
We already have a cutoff date, that's the 20th.
I understand that, but our meetings have not been public anyway, and we've got a lot of information that is trying to come down the pipe here, and if we cut it all off and we ignore it, that's not going to be a good thing for everybody. We need to allow for some changes to occur, and I'm trying to help with make that change occur so that other presenters can come in if need be. We're in a special meeting right now, and it's 1 week before our regular meeting, correct? So what I'm saying is do a cutoff date of Tuesday so that she at least has time to get the agenda modified for our Saturday meeting.
That's just this one time. It don't mean-
Yeah, we're not going to do it every time. That's why we're doing it on. Yes, just for this meeting. That's why I say I just want to do just this resolution for just this one meeting.
No, that's not on the Constitution.
Do we not have a newspaper anymore? Out of business? Down the drain?
Can we move with the resolution, please?
Let me
Okay.
reiterate your language. To allow any presentations to be submitted to the secretary's office by Tuesday for the upcoming June council meeting.
Yes.
Is this for presentations related to the CARES Act funding?
Yes.
You might just add that.
Okay.
Presentations, and I'm gonna put, in parentheses, I'm gonna put CARES Act funding. Be submitted to the secretary's office by Tuesday for upcoming June 2020, which is the regular council meeting, regular monthly council meeting.
And I still say we need to have our, somebody to help us more with that. The CARES Act, somebody with lost a lot of knowledge that we were talking about earlier.
Right.
That's what we need to do. We
Maybe
need-
some of this will, maybe if we allow for more presenters to come in on next Saturday's meeting, maybe this will help and assist with that, because maybe we'll have some people that have knowledge in different areas that can help us with things.
Okay, I need a second to the motion.
Second. Is that a second motion then?
Handing out checks. Everybody's waiting for a check.
Okay. We have a motion by Jeannie, a second by LMA, and it's to allow any presentations, COVID, for the CARES Act funding be submitted to the Secretary's office by Tuesday for upcoming June 2020 regular monthly council meeting. Okay, I will call for vote. Eddie?
Yes.
Jeannie?
Yes.
LMA?
Yes.
Adeline?
Oh, well,
Frankie? Sharon?
No. With the reason being, I feel like we could do this if we really got down to it. But that's my only reasoning.
Okay, Joyce? Yes. Peggy?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Charles? Barry?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Okay, Chief Council motion carries with 11 yes, 1 no.
No other thing, we go to item number 5, I don't have anything right, I've got everything that. For executive session, item number 5, anybody have anything to say?
I make a motion to move to executive session.
second.
Okay. Hannah, second.
Adeline? No, as long as it takes.
We need to talk about.
As long as it takes.
Okay, I did not, and I need to reiterate, I did not hear a second to the motion.
Adeline?
Oh, okay, that's what I thought. Okay. Okay, council, after I call for vote, and if the vote carries to enter executive session, we will take a 10-minute break prior to entering executive session. I will call for vote. Eddie?
What?
Executive session? Executive session?
No.
No. Jeannie?
Yes.
LMA?
Yes.
Adeline?
Oh, well,
Frankie? Sharon?
Yeah.
I vote yes. Peggy? Jamie?
Yes.
Charles? Barry?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Okay, council, we have 10 at yes, 2 at no. We will take a 10-minute break, but we enter an executive session at 11:45.
Okay.
Let me move that.
You might want to move that. Okay, that's done.
So, Joyce, did we say the 19th? Is when they're
All right.
dispersing.
All right, we're back online.
Pick it up.
The secretary has a vote for coming out of executive session.
I have a motion, I have a,
Hello?
okay, we are going to vote to come out of executive session. I had a motion by May. I need a second.
A second.
Charles. Okay, Charles Smoke made the second. Okay, I will call for vote to exit. Eddie?
Yes.
Jeannie?
Yes.
May? Yes. Adeline? Frankie?
Yes.
Sharon? I vote yes. Peggy?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Charles? Barry?
Yeah.
Jeff?
Yes.
Okay, Council Chief, we are out of executive session to continue in regular. Our what time of exiting? 1:45 p.m. During executive session, we have a item called for a vote, and it's the housing to submit for a grant, Indian Housing Community Development Block Grant. It was addressed in executive session regarding that, and to just reiterate that, it's just to submit a grant. I need a motion and a second.
Motion. Second.
We have a motion by Jamie and Frankie. Did I hear those right? Okay. Okay, I will call for vote. This item will be noted as other business. Okay, Eddie?
Yes.
Jeannie?
Yes.
May? Yes. Adeline? Frankie?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
I vote yes. Peggy?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Charles? Barry?
Yeah.
Jeff?
Yes.
Okay, Council Chief, motion carries.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, we're moving to item number 6,
Chief?
benediction.
Chief, the AG requested that somebody make the motion to approve this application with the changes that Jamie had requested, the Assistant Chief, and on the wording.
Okay.
And so I would like to make that motion to approve this application.
Wait.
I was just saying if you want
I feel
No,
We
here,
need it.
I believe that we had agreed that we were just gonna go off of the resolution that was set forth and just mail out checks.
Okay. Okay.
They're not gonna have to sign this. Is that right?
No.
That's what I was.
And hope and pray that.
So,
I don't like to have to sign something like that.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yep.
Shouldn't have to.
No,
It is scary, but
I didn't sign it.
hey, that's what,
we can't go, we
the
can't.
form
we can't go
itself,
back
isn't
and-
that
and
what
do what
the
we voted
majority
on.
of the other tribes are doing as far as that goes though? Is that correct?
there are a few that are not doing any forms, but several, at least a handful of tribes that are giving out checks are requiring an application.
In the resolution, there was nothing mentioned about signing a form. Okay.
Okay. All right, with
Gonna
having
be
that
up
in
to the
mind,
tribe to
I
explain.
have,
why we
item
sent
number
those checks out.
6, benediction. Who wants to do the benediction?
Yeah, we have to address next week's meeting.
Okay. We open it up. We're going to require folks to wear a mask. We'll make it up to them. They choose to do so.
No, a requirement is
A
not a
court
choice.
requirement. Okay. Is there a motion?
What'd you say?
I said a requirement is not a choice. If we're
Yeah.
gonna go with a requirement,
That's what I'm saying. You want-
I'll make a motion to set forth a resolution that everybody has to stay within the distancing guidelines, and they are going to be required to wear a mask
Okay.
if they want to attend the meeting next week.
Do I hear a second? Okay, we have a motion made and it'll make, okay, I mean, Treasurer? Yes, okay.
Motion to require. Motion to require.
Yes, we will be checking temperatures and we will be handing out masks.
Motion to require, have temperature checked. Is that gonna be?
That'd be the COVID guidelines protocol.
Rectally or?
Pardon me?
Timmy, how you check
Huh?
The mask is not gonna be optional?
I know, that's why I'm like, what?
Measure your head if you have a brain. Measure your blood flow.
Motion to require temperature. Chief, we got Mike here. I'd like to say something. I got an announcement.
Okay, when we get there.
We're standing.
We gotta vote.
Are we gonna have it here?
Let's clarify this.
Are we gonna have it here? Our council
That's what we
meeting?
were doing right here, right?
Okay, that's fine.
I didn't know
Let me ask you,
Weather permitting, we'll go outside. Weather permitting, okay? If not weather permitting, we'll be back here.
We gotta worry about the live stream, so. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question? I didn't ask it a while ago. If we require the people that attend the meeting to wear a mask, does that mean that I, as a council person, have to wear a mask too?
I mean, you want to set the camera, right? Yeah, having said that, wear a mask. Doesn't mean council members wear a mask. Did they?
I mean,
That's what I.
if we're gonna set down that requirement for our public, then also our council should be required to do it. It's all about trying to make sure that we keep everyone safe. Right. Yeah. Are we gonna vote on it or are we? Yep,
Somebody made a motion.
great. Who seconded? LMA seconded.
Okay, we have a motion by Jeannie and a second by LMA. And, Council Tidwell, will you correct my language as I read it if it is not correct? It is to approve to stay within the COVID-19 protocol to attend the future council meetings while this
Just-
pandemic is active.
We can reassess it after this.
That's what
I'm
I-
just saying for just this one,
For just the.
for just this
June?
one. Yeah, just for June. And
Okay,
then we can reassess for the future.
okay. To stay within the COVID-19 protocol for the June 2020 regular council meeting.
So we can wear it, but do we have to keep it on? The whole meeting?
Well, if you're.
It's hard.
If you're 6 feet apart and you're just sitting, you can pull it down.
Yeah.
As long as you're 6 feet apart. You know, what you exhale is poisonous.
Mhm.
And you turn around and
That's
inhale it
true.
back in. I agree.
Okay, is that
That's the
clear
truth.
enough?
I've read that many.
Okay. Okay. All right, and that item also will be known as other business. Okay, call for vote. Eddie?
Yeah, no, yes,
Which one?
no,
No?
abstain.
Okay. Jeannie?
Yes.
Ella May? Adeline?
No.
Frankie?
Yes.
Sharon? I vote yes. Peggy?
I abstain.
Jamie?
No.
Charles? Barry?
Yeah.
Jeff?
Yes.
Okay, council, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 under yes, 3 noes, 2 abstentions. We have a motion that passed. So at the June meeting, you will be required to follow COVID-19 protocol.
Yes, I'd like to wish my grandson a happy birthday. Happy birthday, bud.
All right.
Today is my daughter's birthday.
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to say thank you to all the essential workers that have been showing up, everything. I know I said it at the last one, but thank you guys for coming out, and ladies too. I always say guys, but thank you, gentlemen and ladies, for everything that you do for the tribe and for the community.
Excellent. Yes, sir.
I've got a new baby granddaughter just born the 28th, so congratulations.
Congratulations, Grandpa.
Congratulations.
My daughter's
right.
birthday and great niece's birthday today.
Today is my daughter Gabriella's birthday also.
Happy birthday. Yes, all right. Okay, with that, benediction. Who wants to do the benediction?
Thank you.
Most gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we come to you today, Father. Thank you, Lord, for another blessed day. Father, I just ask, Lord, that you just watch over us as we travel back to our families. Father, I just ask, Lord, that you just watch over the leaders of the tribe. Father, I just thank you, Lord, for the blessings, Lord, that you are bestowing upon the tribe. Father, be with those, Lord, that are shut-ins, the elders, the children, Lord, that we have in our tribe, Lord. Just keep them safe. Father, I just ask, Lord, that you watch over each and every one, Lord, as we travel down the road back to our families and our loved ones. Father, I ask all these things in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Motion to adjourn.
I second.
All right.